Anti-racism for me is about dismantling the idea of race. Race was created for a reason as an idea, to legitimise colonialism, slavery. So anti-racism is about dismantling that idea, doing away with it, doing away with the idea that the colour of people's skin is a good way of understanding qualities that they have or their value in our society. So that's a big part of anti-racism for me. The other bit is it's about tackling the root causes of what sustains racism in our society as well. Because a lot of what I've seen around race equality, for example, in the past has been about responding to the symptoms of racism, the unequal outcomes that people experience in housing and education and so on. Anti-racism for me is about going to the root, to those beliefs about how people are different and what they are owed in our society and what rights they have. The third last bit of anti-racism that I think is really important is it's not only about black and racially minoritised people doing something about it. Like the massive role that white people play in creating an anti-racist society, often that's where power, resources sit. It's got to be about collaboration. It's got to be about all of us having a stake in a future that where race isn't organising people's lives, isn't organising what people get to do, how people flourish in our society. So for me, that's the third bit. It's about collective action and everyone feeling, not putting all the responsibility on those that experience racism to do something about it. So I grew up in a part of Birmingham called Yardley, which, being like from a mixed heritage family, my dad was Pakistani, mum white British. There was a lot of National Front activity, a lot of Combat 18. So there was a lot of racism essentially in my school. That used to make my blood boil. I always wanted to do something about it. I often was the kid in the playgrounds challenging people, if they were being racist, getting in the middle of fights and trying to stop them and things like that. So I was quite active at school. Then that made me, I wanted to go into politics, like learn more about politics at university. I did a degree in human rights. Then I worked for BRAP, Birmingham, which used to be called Birmingham Race Action Partnership. And working at BRAP, there were a few moments for me that really made me think we need to do more here. And one of them, which my colleague Joy and I have talked about quite a lot in the past, is we were in this big, they used to have these big strategic partnership meetings as a city with like the council there and various public agencies. And I remember the quality and level of discussion around race equality was just so low, the bar. And whenever we used to try and bring things in, the most we could hope for sometimes, I think, was like that there might be a new policy that was introduced or a small grant fund or something like that. It just made us think, me think personally, and us as an organisation, I think as well, we need to think, how do we intervene at a more systems level to change some of this? How do we build people's awareness around racism? How do we elevate the quality of debate? So it was meetings like that where I just thought, God, this could be going round and round for decades. How do we get to the practice? How do we get to how people are behaving and thinking about race and racism? That's probably the most defining thing for me. So it's like a slow burn, really, over time, rather than one particular event. I think the riots, those couple of days in 2005 in Lozells and Handsworth, just really brought home for me how quickly things can turn in this city, because, and the reason I thought, in response to your question about why I felt more needed to be done as a result of that event, what I could see is all of the focus was on inter-ethnic conflict. It just suddenly became all about, cohesion, about identity politics in a number of different ways. These are really important topics, but the bit that wasn't being talked about was the material conditions that caused that conflict in the first place. Working at brap for 20 odd years, you start to see cycles, riots come, they go, murder, sadly, murders, deaths of young black, racially minoritized children in the city. You start to see patterns of this, and often the debate is about this community did that community did this, rather than this is how the city is set up structurally, and this is how racism is operating in our housing market, in our labour market, in our schools, in the way police engage with communities. So for me, that was a bit of a turning point. I thought, we need to step outside of this, some of the superficial identity politics side of things. And I'm not saying that there weren't important issues in that riot about inter-ethnic conflict. There were, but there's a bigger game, I think, as well. And that's what drove me, if I speak personally, to do more.
Beyond racism, racism and beyond, anti-racism has to be the norm. Let's build a city where everyone belongs. Beyond racism, racism and beyond, anti-racism has to be the norm. A world of understanding, that's what we crave. From every corner, every land, a tapestry woven by every hand. Harmonious call, we rise and stand.